We've got upcoming new releases, news announcements, and the potential end for the year 2099 in the Marvel Universe. Let's talk about it all right here on The Cover Story. First up, let's talk about things that are on the way very shortly. Spider-Man 2099 The End is dropping in November. Steve Orlando is wrapping up his time in the 2099 universe with a bang, and it looks like it's going to be a definitive farewell to the character of Miguel O'Hara. This comes right after The End 2099 Alpha, which brings back legacy characters like Hulk, Ghost Rider, and even Doom in their 2099 iterations. It's a send-off for the whole line, so if you've been following these minis, it's probably going to be a must. Also in November, Ed Brubaker and Marcos Martin are returning for another volume of Friday. This hardcover deluxe compilation collects all 3 volumes of the Friday series. Think about it like Nancy Drew, but also with that Ed Brubaker kind of sheen to it all. That's going to be digital first through Panel Syndicate before the print releases via imagecomics. Speaking of Ed Brubaker, he's also teaming back up with Sean Phillips for a new criminal story called The Knives. It hits in September and sounds like another hard-edged crime noir set in a familiar world, but this time with a fresh protagonist. So if you like that kind of thing, it's definitely right up your alley. It feels like it's going to be in vein with all of the other criminal volumes that have come out here following different characters within this interconnected world. This one has me incredibly excited though. Marvel's also diving back into the Marvel Knights imprint with a new 2-part series starring Daredevil and Punisher, written by none other than Jimmy Palmiotti. It sounds like a back-to-basics street-level story, which honestly, that's kind of the best thing for this character. Both of these characters, in fact. They're hard-boiled, they're on the streets, that's exactly where both of these characters shine, and with Jimmy Palmiotti at the helm, this has me incredibly excited. This rings back to the earliest days of Marvel Knights, and I can't wait for it. Lastly, That Texas Blood is getting new trade printings with updated Jacob Phillips covers. If you haven't been collecting the singles, this might be a great time to catch up on this story written by Chris Condon. It was one of my personal favorites from the years that it was coming out here. I can't wait for the duo of Chris Condon and Jacob Phillips to dive back into this because it is a really rich story that's totally worthwhile with great characters. If you need to play catch up, this is your perfect time to check out. Now, onto some recent updates from San Diego Comic-Con and beyond. Skybound's Energon universe is still going strong. Void Rivals Act 4 is just kicking off, and we've got some big creator shifts. Robert Kirkman and Dan Moore are going to be taking over Transformers. That's huge in itself, plus G.I. Joe is going to bi-monthly, starting with the Dreadnought War story. It's all ramping up to kind of maybe make these things coalesce a little bit more. The Venn diagram is starting to shrink a little bit for anything within the Energon universe, and big crossovers are definitely going to be planned for this. For fans of the role-playing game genre, Die is also making a big comeback. Kieran Gillen and Stephanie Hans are returning with Die Loaded, which will be a new story arc set in the same world. There's not a lot of details that have been confirmed as of yet, but Image will be releasing this, and it's going to be a continuation of the story, not a reboot. So this is the perfect time to catch up on a great story with wonderful characters, written by the same writer of one of my personal favorite books right now, The Power Fantasy. So make sure to check out Die Loaded. Over on the DC side, we've got a few things. First, a new Black Label miniseries called Batman, Green Arrow, and the Question Arcadia. Gabriel Hardman is writing and drawing it, and it's all about a billionaire who wants to build out a utopia, and these 3 don't quite agree with how to go about it. It seems definitely the personality types that are going to be perfect for kind of combating this kind of storyline with just enough weirdness to make it really entertaining. All of these characters are definitely going to come out with their own perspective, and being that this is Black Label, it sounds pretty exciting. On top of that, DC is also rolling out 10 new compact comic volumes in 2026. So these are the small format manga-esque reprints for a budget price. Think mass market kind of things, right? That's going to be what this is really geared towards. Good for accessibility, especially for folks who have never cracked into the comic books like Long Halloween or All-Star Superman. In that same vein, Marvel's collecting the first wave of the new Ultimate Universe in a fancy slipcase box set as well. This includes the entire runs of Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Black Panther, and the Ultimates. If you're a trade waiter on these kind of things and you haven't been picking up the floppies, there is no better time to play catch-up within the Ultimate Universe. In my personal opinion, this is a solid pickup just based on the fact that it's probably the best comics that Marvel has been putting out for the last better part of a year. Now, we got a couple news items here that are a little bit further out on the horizon, but yet they have still been announced here. We're going to start with the fact that the biggest headline is probably that there is a Spider-Punk animated film officially in development. It's spinning directly out of the Spider-Verse movies that I've personally loved quite a bit, starring none other than the character of Hobie Brown here in his full solo story. We don't have a release date yet, but it's coming out from the same creative team here from Across the Spider-Verse, and they're really leaning into that punk rock, anti-establishment aesthetic that really worked so well for that character and made him a real standout in the sequel to the Spider-Verse movies. On top of all that, we're also getting a collected edition to We're Taking Everyone Down With Us, a YA thriller about a teen caught in the middle of some Cold War-style political intrigue. This has been a really fun story from Matthew Rosenberg, and it took me totally by surprise this year. The collected edition should take care of the entire first story arc here, but for me personally, I hope that that's not all we get from this universe. I'm definitely looking forward to more. For another nostalgia hit, though, J. Scott Campbell is putting together a Danger Girl Artist Edition via Kickstarter. This is the 25th anniversary for the characters, and it's sure to definitely delight people for like the 90s, early 2000s kids that are kind of feeling nostalgic for having those type of characters come back here when they were originally put out through Cliffhanger Comics. This is kind of cool. It has been a long time since I feel like we've gotten J. Scott Campbell interiors, and to see them fully blown up, that should be pretty exciting. Finally, the Spider-Man Classic newspaper strips are getting a new archival edition through Marvel. These are going to be like the Stan Lee, John Romita era strips from the 70s onward. It's really awesome. That's kind of some of the stuff that I grew up with. Even before I actually had floppies and individual comics, I do remember comic strips were my through road into finding out about comics, and seeing Spider-Man in those was absolutely awesome. To wrap things up here, we have Wes Craig and his continuing story with Kaya that's going to have a colossal one-shot issue here with a cavalcade of awesome creators, including Declan Shelvey, Mike Huddleston, Ryan Stegman, Nathan Fox, and many more. This is going to be an incredible continuation of the story, along with the fact that we're now going to see all of these great creators get their own iteration on the character of Kaya. This has me really excited. So that's what I'm interested in, what caught my attention, but I'm more curious. What piqued your interest, and what will you be picking up? Links for all the news articles will be listed down in the description down below here. But do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe, and be part of the panel. Leave me a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you next week.